Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aulia Putri, and here I will explain about attitudes to language. So, people who hold strong views about the way words should be pronounced illustrate nicely the themes of this chapter. Ultimately, attitudes to language reflect attitudes to the user and the uses of language. As we shall see in this chapter, there is nothing intrinsically beautiful or correct about any particular sound. Swallow, for example, has positive connotations when people associate the word with the bird. But if you define it as the action which follows chewing, the associations alter and so do assessment of the word's beauty. Context it all. Some critics of art less accent argue that they will disadvantage their user in the area of reading in particular. They argue that people who don't distinguish the pronunciations of lord and law or sword and south are storing up literacy problems for the future. It is easy to demonstrate that such fears are ill-founded. With pronunciations, difference can be a help in distinguish different meanings. They are not essential. People manage to distinguish the meanings of son and son, brick and break, and right, and right, despite the fact and they sound the same in most accents of English. And next, overt and covert prestige. Prestige is a sleepy concept. The meanings of overt prestige is reasonably self-evident. The standard variety in community has overt prestige. Speakers who use the standard variety are rated highly on scale of education and occupational status. The speech index the high social status. These positive ratings indicate the associations of their speech variety, which is generally held up as the best way of speaking in the community. Meanwhile, covert prestige, by contrast, is an odd term which could even be regarded as involving two contradictory ideas. The term covert prestige has been widely used, however, to refer to positive attitudes toward vernacular or non-standard speech varieties. Currently, such varieties are valued or they would not continue to be used. So the standard is the variety taught in elocution classes regardless of the pupil's native accent. There is also a large group of people who are not aware that they not speak with the accent they admire and regard as the standard. Most people surprised when they hear their own voice on the tape. Some of this surprise usually related to the pronunciations they heard themselves using. There is a story about a public speaker at a conference on speech who invoked for some times against slipfoot and sloppy pronunciation, such as the use of gonna for going to. For example, and I tell you believe that these proper pronunciations should be opposite by all teachers and eliminated entirely, and I'm gonna make them should not chill in my class use it. So next, attitude to Standard English and RP. Standard English has been enormous legacy of overt prestige. It has been regarded as a symbol of British nationhood, as the quotations in example 6 indicate. Number 1, next to our people, our language is our greatest nation asset. It is an essential ingredient of the Englishness of England. Number 2, English ought to be the pronunciation of this curriculum for any British child. It is one of things that define his or her nationality. For a well over a century, it has been promoted as the only acceptable variety for use in all official domains, including education. By comparison, vernacular dialects of English are downgraded. The political and social basis of this attitude is clearly evident, however, when we remember that the elite consensus until at last the 18th century was that English was a decidedly inferior language, less eloquent than Latin or Greek, or even the French and Italian. Prestige codes emerged by social consensus and owe nothing to their intrinsic linguistic features. Next, attitudes to vernacular forms of English. Standard English is the English used by educated people with relatively high social status. So middle-class children speak Standard English and children from the other social group do not. attitudes to language are important to social linguistics for a study of reasons. Sociologists have claimed the shared attitudes to speech are hate speech norm is a critical criterion in defining members of the same speech community. Attitude to vernacular varieties or the language of these foreign groups affect teachers' academic expectations of those who use these varieties, with implication for their academic progress. Attitudes to language have implications in many social spheres and illustrate well the ways in which sociolinguistic research often has an implied dimension. For example, attention to the rules of grammar and care in the choice of words encourage punctiliousness in other matters. The overthrow of grammar coincides with the acceptance of the equivalent of creative writing in social behavior. As nice points of view, grammar were mostly dismissed as fanatic and irrelevant. So was the punctiliousness in such matters as honestly, responsibility, property, gratitude, apology, and so on. Support for so-called grammar teaching often derives from the misleading association of grammar with authority, hierarchy, traditional, and elitism. With it means here is not grammar, but a number of arbitrary superficial rules of formal standard English. It is difficult to take seriously the suggestion that using standard grammar encourages honestly, or that the use of vernacular forms has any connection with ingratitude. Okay, I think that's all for me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.